Hi, everybody. We're live. I've got Natalie Holloway here. I'm such a huge fan of this woman. I cannot wait to dig in. And I know that you guys have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. And we're going to get through a bunch of different topics today, which I'm so excited about. And this woman has a book too. So you can also read the book afterwards, which I'm sure you're going to want to once we get into this. But before we get started, again, I'm Allie Wyatt. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Female Founder Collective, which includes the North and the 10th House, and now the Cabinet, which is our 5 million and up membership community. And we are in the final stages of our consumer cohort that's happening right now. So if you're wondering if you might be relevant for that, that includes founders building in beauty, wellness, fashion, and adjacent consumer categories. And as a member, just to give you a sense of what you get, you start with a membership to our accelerator program, which is called Founders Operating Manual, which you guys, I cannot tell you enough. I feel like I've been saying this as I've had the chance to talk one-on-one with some people today, but it is like worth more than $100,000 of your budget. And to be honest, I think what's so great is that we have AI now, right? And so many more people can build businesses than ever before. And you can build them more quickly with a lot less money, which is amazing. But if you do not put good input into your AI, you're going to get junk out. So this is the perfect formula to get all of this information from the experts who have been through it, who've been through it recently, and then to stick that into AI. So we have a lot of ways that you can actually build into your prompts so that you're getting some great stuff out. But within that, so it's an 8-week accelerator program with masterclasses, workbooks, fireside chats, and then consumer only founder community. So once you've learned all this information, you now have all of these people around you that can be sounding boards that can help you fast track with all the questions that you're going to have coming out of it as you're executing. So highly recommend you join. But without further ado, I can't wait to get into Natalie, which is the reason we are all here. So Natalie Holloway is the co-founder and CEO of Bala, the design-led fitness brand behind the viral Bala Bangles. She launched in 2018 with just $5,000, guys. That was before AI, which is insane. So I can't wait to dig into that. And she's helped grow Bala into a global brand with over 150 million in sales, a deal on Shark Tank with Mark Cuban and Maria Sharapova, and a devoted community around modern movement and wellness. She's also an angel investor, host of the podcast Hot Takes, Big Stakes, and author of Bootstrap Empire, which is her new book out from Wiley in 2026 for anyone building a brand from the ground up. So Natalie, huge welcome. We just talked a lot about how AI enables you to build a business with very little money, but I want to get right into how you started to build your business. So most founders think about the idea first, and then they're like, oh, I'll create a business out of this once they've realized that, oh, think I have a product that is good and that could work. But you launched Bala with $5,000 in a very specific product vision. Can you sort of tell us about that moment? And then tell us how you decided that you felt like the Bala Bangle was worth investing in and betting on.
Yes, absolutely. And hi, everybody. Excited to be here. Can't see you. Wish I could. So my husband and I, we were dating at the time, and we were in advertising. So we spent the bulk of our career, probably 8 years working at advertising agency, like really crazy agencies where you just work 24/7 in New York and in LA. And I think we really burnt ourselves out.
Yeah.
We just started dating. And so we kind of said, I think I was like 28, and I said, let's quit our jobs, and we have really good resumes. In advertising, you really bounce around a lot. And so we didn't think it was crazy risky at the time. So we quit our jobs and we traveled for a year, kind of like a later gap year, knowing that we would return and get jobs in advertising again. So we went on this trip, and we were doing a yoga class, and we wanted that yoga class to be hard, and we wanted to sweat. And what happened is it was very meditative and stretchy. So we said, how could we level up? How could we have leveled up that class and made it harder? and we started talking about resistance. Of course, like dumbbells and things exist, and wrist and ankle weights existed. But then that was our aha moment, because we said wrist and ankle weights exist, but no one uses them. They have not seen a design upgrade since the 80s. And meanwhile, you're starting to see at this time, about 9 years ago, you're starting to see brands pop up like Quip for toothbrushes, just like redesigning a tool you already use. And so we said, let's redesign the wrist and ankle weights. And so basically Max, who's the product designer, like drew out the prototype right there, like on a piece of paper or napkin, and sketched it out. And then we said, okay, we're going to continue getting jobs in advertising, but let's prototype this product. So that's where the $5,000 comes in, because we returned to the US, we got jobs in advertising again for 2 years, and we built this like prototype, which at the time it was very much just one product, a side idea to maybe make a little money.
And Max was the one who created it. That's your husband?
Yes, he's the product designer, and he didn't even, this is what's interesting also, he didn't come from that background at all. He just has that in him. And so he's been our product designer. We have a team of 1 on the product team, and some companies of our size might have, a huge product team, but really it's like every idea has come from him, and then we iterate together. And of course I'm very involved, but it's like, he's the product designer. And then we prototyped the first product and really started it as a side hustle.
So I want to talk, I mean, I love that. I love that he's the designer, and then like you're the brand, and I'm assuming that's sort of how you guys divide it up, and I want to get more into that. Mm-hmm. But so you built and alongside your co-founder, Max, mm-hmm. right? How did building the business together shape the dynamic? And what would you say to the solo founders in our audience who are wondering whether or not to bring in a partner?
So I have a very strong POV list. I mean, working with your partner is really, really hard in general. So I'm not going to say go work with your husband necessarily, but we've worked it out and like it works now. But what I will say is that I do strongly advise, if you can, to have a co-founder. But if you can't, it's actually not a problem, because you can just find somebody who has like the opposite skill set that is like a leader, like a chief brand officer or a CFO. Yeah. But I do think you need like 2 real adults in the room. It's not so much of a concern like early days, although if you can, I would. I think this really comes into play, like, I'm talking like 6 to 8 years down the line, because I've seen a lot of people burn out because they didn't have a co-founder or another kind of, I'll call it adult in the room. And I think then the company could fail, or, and the energy ebbs and flows. Like sometimes I'm so jazzed on Bala and Max is not. And then we can kind of ebb and flow like that. And then also, the strength and weakness component. So I definitely think you need to find like another leader.
You guys have very clear strengths and weaknesses as partners. Like, and how has that evolved over time? Like, how have you guys said to one another each year, like, oh, maybe I'm going to focus more on this, or this is going to come off my plate. Can you take this on? Mm-hmm. How's that dynamic worked?
We have very natural ones. Like I'm brand, marketing, and ops, and he's we're both a little right brain, left brain. So he's like finance and product design. And it does change every now and then. And it's just a conversation. So it's like, if he starts hating legal and managing the lawyers, I'm like, okay, I'll take that on. And we just kind of flip flop some of those things. But I think for the most part, I'm always going to be brand, social, marketing, and ops. And for the most part, he's always going to be finance, product design, legal. And so I think a lot of it is natural. And then if we really hate a role and start to hate it, we'll either hire out for it or maybe switch to the other one.
So when you say it's natural, like those are just the things you started doing inherently when you started building the business.
I think at the beginning, we both did everything. And that I think it was great because we learned every aspect of the business, but now we're like, we can truly divide and conquer. So now all of a sudden we're barely ever, like very rarely on the same meeting. And so we're basically doing like what I feel is 2 times the amount of work because we're truly divide and conquering. And I don't even need to like use my brain power on the decisions that he's made and vice versa. And so I think it really helps the momentum of the company. And Yeah, so I think some of it was very natural, and then some was just we have certain team members in place. Like we have the legal team, so it's like one of us managing the lawyers. It's not like we're great at legal; we're just managing lawyers. So if you're not good at anything, we've hired out either agency, contract, or full time.
So I want to get into the hiring out, right? Like when you started delegating things, and we have a number of questions that have come in from our community that I'm going to also ask. And this question actually leads into our community members question. And that is like, who were some of the first hires? Like, how did you start to prepare to scale? And when did you know that you needed to bring some outside people in, like beyond Max?
Well, we made a lot of mistakes there because we actually did, and this is one of the things I was going to talk about, but we, during COVID, all fitness brands skyrocketed, like insane growth. And then 2 years later, there was a dip. And so during that time, what we learned was a really crucial like mistake. We just hired too fast. Like we hired like a head of growth, and we could afford it at the time. And he was like, I need a team of 5 under me, and we just did it. And things like that across each channel. And we just
in the interview process, did he tell you that, or did that come up later? And you guys are like,
well, that came up later because we were growing really quickly. Like we went from 2 million to 20 million in 1 year, and we barely knew anything about business at that point. We were so green, and so we were deferring to a lot of the experts that we've hired, and we thought, oh, this is what you do. You build a big team. And then I think we were not prepared for the dip that came. And then we ultimately had to fire, like we fired everybody but myself, Max, and our current CBO, Brooke, and we all took pay cuts. And what we learned was like, I think really critical to how we operate now is that you can operate a lot leaner than you think you can. I think every time you hire somebody, you definitely wait to let the dust settle to make sure, because just because the JD says something doesn't mean that that's those person's exact skill sets. And so I think you need to get the person in the role, see how they mesh with the team, see what you really need before like going and hiring the next person. And so basically hiring slow is like what we do. And we definitely use contractors a lot. And I think back to your original question on, who you would hire first, I think try to use, until you have real revenue, I wouldn't hire anybody. I mean, again, unless you're maybe venture backed, and I think that's a totally different answer.
Or even like delegate it. Like what were some of the first things you were able to delegate out? Because I do tell people, founders, to not try to do it all.
Well, at this point with AI, it's like all of the admin.
Now you can do a lot of the roles.
A lot of you can do a lot more roles right now, but it's like all of the admin, I would say definitely get, unless you're a finance wizard, like get somebody to like do your books, an easy contract accountant. Social media, even if it is your super strength, I would say that's like something very easy to farm out. Yeah. And so I would like farm out a lot of these easy roles. I still to this day use Upwork for things like retouching or finding like farm out type jobs. So I would say use Upwork and do a lot of contractors like that. But I think the basics like accounting and social media, I think you can kind of hire out for those, and you can still creative direct from a social media. But I think like anything like easy day to day, like replace yourself and let someone else do it.
We have a question from the audience, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going to throw it out to you. How can a first-time founder lock down their ops team with little to no budget?
If you have little to no budget, like I think you are the ops team. That's what I think. And well, first of all, I think because
you're a virtual assistant.
Well, yeah, that would be great. Like
paired with AI.
Yes. Yeah, I like that too. I think you can find people on Upwork really like in the Philippines or other countries that can like help you, and they're very good. Like we have a wholesale person that's really a rock star, and she's in the Philippines, and she's joined the team and really just like excelled. So that could be helpful. But I do think owning your own ops, at least for the first 2 years, is crucial to really knowing the brand. we've hired, in the past, head of ops. We've had 8 ops agencies that were expensive, like all of these things with like, they had tons of promises and nobody was really able to deliver because I think we have to understand our ops first and foremost. So I think like unless you're truly funded, maybe you are the ops person for the first 2 years.
In some of the companies that I've invested in, I saw that same thing happen where they tried to hire a COO, for example, that was like an external person. Like it's one thing if that person is going to be your co-founder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe suck at ops, which like I would have to do. Like I would not want to do ops, frankly. But if you really stink at that and you go hire it, it's one thing. But this person kept trying to hire it as a role like a year into the business. And you're right, it wasn't established enough. And so it's like what you need changes so quickly in those stages. So I think you're right. Like the first 2 years, that's a pretty good hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question from Celine D, who was curious about in the very beginning, what did organized and prepared to scale actually look like? Because she said, I don't imagine it was a full tech stack on day one. So what did in terms of those early learnings about operations and getting you ready for being able to bring people in that would ultimately be set up for success, what did that look like?
So I think we definitely were not organized to scale. We a lot of times would go with our gut, but we would look at the numbers and say like, is this can we afford this? Like last question about little to no budget. I think that if you have any question that says little to no budget, you likely can't afford that. It doesn't mean you can't in like 6 months, but like right now. And so I think like operating very lean was important, but I think for us, we always had an approach where we would try things. Like I read, because you mentioned tech stack, it's like I get cold emails all day long. I actually read most of those because I don't want to miss if there is something I could add to my tech stack that would increase D2C sales or something. Like I want to suss it out. And so I'm always like wanting to know what's out there and always game to try new things. And we don't want to like ever lock ourselves into a contract. We always try to do month to month. We are always negotiating as well. And I think having some of these principles,
like your billing terms, for example.
Always. Yeah. Billing terms, or even just costs. Like let's say we're adding like a platform and they're like, it's $1,900 a month. We're like, we're really only looking to spend 900, and we always negotiate these sorts of things. So I think as a principle that like helps you scale. And then I think
that's such a good bootstrapping rule. It's a good business rule across the board, by the way. Like you would not think, but everything is negotiable.
Everything. And they'll tell you like what they'll go as low as what works for them. So it's like, don't feel bad about that. You can negotiate. And I think another thing about scaling is that we are never too scared to like stop whatever we've onboarded, a person, a platform, and pivot completely and like rewrite the plan. And even to this day, we do that. We like rewrite the plan all the time if something is not working, even if we're too far in. And I think that's also helpful to have that attitude.
Yeah, having that flexibility is so key. I have another question we have a lot of questions from members, which I absolutely love, guys. Thank you so much for submitting stuff because it helps guide the conversation to ensure we get out of it what you want. But you built, in terms of traction, you built traction before any outside capital. Obviously, you're the bootstrapping queen. What was the single most important decision you made early on to create that momentum with such limited resources?
I'll say two things. So one, as you know, we had the $5,000, which was, I think, probably leftover money from our trip to Asia. And we put all of it.
Honeymoon?
What?
Your honeymoon trip to Asia or something?
No, our whenever we quit our jobs to travel to Asia.
Yeah,
like we had saved up some money, and that was like the leftover. So we like, put it all on the line. And
I love it. You got the trip and the business.
Ultimately, after several years. But I would say the best thing we did is I honestly didn't know. I knew I loved the product. I did not know the world would love the product. We learned that pretty soon after launching, but we decided that instead of like taking on a loan or trying to figure out a way to get our first production run, which was going to be $40,000, that was too big of a bet for us. We decided to launch a Kickstarter. And I think that was really amazing because we tested the market. We learned a little bit more about our marketing position too, like a great insights. We got the $40,000. So we said, oh, wow, like customers do want this. They basically pre-bought the product. So I would say Kickstarter was one of the best things. And I think I had a second, but let's just go with Kickstarter.
So smart. I love that. We have a follow-up question on tech stack, which
Okay.
I love the tech stack conversation because I do think it's such a secret tool. But what's the most valuable tool in your tech stack today? Do you have a favorite?
I love one called Rebuy. It's on D2C, and it basically it's kind of like a checkout tool, and it helps customers post purchase and upsell them basically. But it's like a very clean tool. I would say Rebuy. I was going to say also Gusto. Gusto is just like automatic payroll. And we don't even, right now, we don't even have an HR person. We used to, but again, like lean operations, we don't need it right now because basically Gusto does like.
How many people do you have?
We are so lean. You'd be shocked. 9 people and an open role. We have a ton of agencies though.
Wow, that is really impressive. Okay, that is a lot less than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
You said you use Gusto because usually it's like sort of early stages. We use Gusto as well.
Oh yeah, it's so easy.
I love it, but we did just have a major hiccup that I had a bone to pick with them where I was on the phone with their various departments, I think for like 4 hours, getting bounced around to different. It was very frustrating. But
oh no.
Make sure you double check your healthcare. Is
I'm
the long story
right
short.
after this.
Because our healthcare showed up canceled because we hadn't paid any bills, but we couldn't find where the bills were supposed to be paid. But Gusto, meanwhile, had withheld everything from all of our employees' paychecks.
Oh, that actually happened. That something like that did happen to us. Like you have to read the statements. Who knew? Looks like
we weren't getting statements is the problem.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know what you're talking about. We had a hiccup like that years ago.
It was like, it was very frustrating. Anyways, back to the point, because I do want to talk about marketing. So Rebuy, everybody, write that down, research it. Sounds like a great tool. But you guys are just pure marketing brilliance. Like obviously you have a great product, and you saw that on a Kickstarter. You guys loved it. Everybody else loved it too. But Bala feels instantly recognizable. It really does with and that's thanks also to Max with the colors and the shapes and the aesthetic. What are some of the ways to be more visually appealing as a brand? Mm-hmm. Like, what are some of the tools and things that you learned in advertising that you brought over? And then how do you ensure consistency in how the brand shows up and how you scale across like retailers, which is a great question. And then of course, content and product lines.
Yeah, I think consistency is always a challenge. But when we launched the brand, I feel truly that to have like a lasting brand, you need to have product differentiation and marketing differentiation. I think you can have one or the other and have a good brand, but to have a lasting brand, like you need to have both. You need to have that product that is very unique, but then also have the brand where you're saying, oh, that feels Bala. And it's like, you can't put your finger on what it is, but it feels Bala. And so I think to create that, of course, you will create brand guidelines for people to adhere to. But I think if you can have marketing that just looks or feels different to anything out there, which I know is a tall order in this day and age, but I still think there's like room to find that. Like look at Vacation Sunscreen or like who gives a crap with toilet paper brand. Like those are very distinctly them. And I think that is like the way you can create a lasting brand. And for us, it all starts with the photo shoot. So when we launched the brand, we wanted it to be like a fashion brand and a fitness brand's body, which felt unique to us 9 years ago. And so in the photo shoots, we said, okay, we're going to do like sick casting, like makeup's going to be like fun and elevated. We're going to style them. Like they might wear a heel, they'll wear sunglasses for a shoot with like dumbbells. Like we're going to have fun with it. We're going to go fashion with it. And I think that is where the Bala brand became recognizable. So between that and then also little but big choices on product. Like we used silicone on our product, which was, I think, the first time people were using that on fitness equipment, and that became distinctly us. The colors we chose, so we do 6 core colors, and we pretty much have stuck to those colors for like the last 4 to 5 years. So things like that, you just like stick your anchor in what is truly you. Maybe it's like the blue blazer. It's like there's always like a hint of blue somewhere. Like stick to what is uniquely you, and then like repeat that like crazy, even just like hints of it. And I think it will start to be recognizable. And then brand guidelines. But retail, I'm sure there's things out there where it doesn't look like Bala, but I think you can't make yourself crazy over those sort of things.
We have an audience question following up on that. In that, where would you suggest startup brands focus their efforts, wholesale or direct to consumer in this current macro environment?
Definitely wholesale. I think D2C is great to have, but it's expensive. So unless you are venture backed or you have just like $1 million sitting there to play with, I would not really spend a ton of money on D2C right now. And I would focus on being as many places as you can on wholesale. And that's what we have done. And we decided like we're just going to be everywhere. And that's like one of our marketing tactics. And because people say, oh, but then you're going to be everywhere and it's going to like saturate the market. But it's such a big world out there. You're not going to saturate the market. So I say try to be in as many wholesalers as possible. And we also have another little wholesale trick where I haven't heard a lot of people do this. So I'll just say it in case it helps anyone. But we have our Shopify, our D2C Shopify. And we essentially just said, let's start treating our wholesale customer like a D2C customer. So we copied a new Shopify, and it's our Shopify B2B wholesale portal. And what happens is if you go to Bala and you want to apply to be a wholesaler, you apply, we approve you, and now you have a separate like Shop Bala wholesale link, and these people can log on and they can shop at any time. So really, there's no hand holding from a sales associate. So already more operationally efficient.
Like it's a shop and shop, like that's what you'll see if you're coming from a wholesaler.
Yeah, like no, it's a different site. So it's like wholesale.shopbala or something. And you would have a login. So right now, like my D2C customers, I also have a ton of wholesale studios and shoppers that are just shopping.
Oh, you mean for like more like studio type of customer?
Studio, not like Dick's Sporting Goods and Target. So those are
Got it. That's what I was envisioning. I was like, wait, does that work?
Like the independents, but that can grow quite quickly. And then all of a sudden, they're always shopping, and we email retarget to these people as well. So we have fair market.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, like, in terms of your channels, like, what are the biggest channels for you? Like, is that a big chunk of your revenue? The studios and or independent?
It actually is. Like, we have 9,000 wholesalers, like independent studios, and then, but we're even between D2C, Amazon, and wholesale.
Got it.
But it's nice to have the full package because maybe like D2C has a light month, but then all of a sudden you got a really big PO from Dick's Sporting Goods. So I think having the full package, Amazon, wholesale, and D2C is very helpful.
And then to that end as well, since you're in so many places, how do you make sure that the brand look and feel and merchandising is consistent?
I mean, that is I would say that's challenging. We might walk in, I keep using Dick's as an example. So we might walk into Dick's and like there's like power rings like under the floor with like hair and dust on them. So it's like you can't, I mean, I'm sure for a makeup brand you have people go and merchandise that, but for us the best we can do is provide our wholesale channels assets. So we often send emails with assets to use or little like postcards to print out. And so we'll try to merchandise that way. But unless you're going to hire somebody to go visit, it's not super controllable. And then as far as, Targets and those kind of retailers, that is way more in our control because we create, the shelf talkers and things like that.
And then somebody else asked a good question as well in the audience. And that's, this is an interesting one. What were you personally doing? This is from Melissa. At 500 to 1 million that you had to completely stop in order to reach 10 million plus?
So definitely shipping every unit by hand. We shipped the first like 75,000 units out of our Hollywood and Brooklyn and then Hollywood garage. And so doing that was insane. I did it way too long. We did it for, I think, the first 2 years of the business, and it was crazy. So I would like get rid of that early. And then I think if you're like getting to 10 million, that's like maybe the point where you can start to look, assuming the brand's been around a couple of years, like just look at your like your day to day and just say, could somebody else do this task better? And then just start divvying up the tasks, either via your existing team or like put all the tasks in a sheet and say like, what role is this? It might be like a chief of staff, like a generalist. But I am actively doing that. If there's a call that I don't need to be on, like someone on my team should take that. And that is like actually my goal. Like every day, how can this company run without me? So therefore it's like, what can I get off my plate? Someone else can probably do it better. But I do think that is a task for after you've had the brand at least a couple of years, maybe 3+ years. Because you just really need to know the business until then.
Right. You need to be the one pulling all the levers and whatnot. I want to ask a question from Jessica G, because I think that this is, while we have your marketing brain, and I'm sure everybody here would benefit from this, but how, for founders who are growing a brand today with limited marketing budget, what would you do if you didn't have a ton of resources? And how do you think of where to spend, where to save, and how to give expensive influencers and digital ads? Like, do you focus on those places? Like, how do you think about the whole marketing mix?
I think it's think about all of the free marketing you can do first. And you're like, free marketing, but there are things you can do that are free. Obviously, organic social, like post daily, like that one is an obvious one. Another thing that we did early days is we were like, oh, well, we want to just like kind of get out there in the community. So we found brands that were similar size to us. At the time, it was a brand called Year of Ours, and we did like LA hikes. And I don't even think we had money to like bring bangles a ton. We wore our own bangles and maybe brought like a few extra. And, all of a sudden you had like 20 to 40 people like hiking in LA in our bangles. And that's like, guerrilla marketing. So I think you can do something like that is free. Definitely reach out to a ton of brands, ideally bigger than you, but not too big, where there needs to be something in it for them as well. So I would say comparably sized, but a little bigger, and reach out to a ton of brands and just connect and say like, can you include me in your next like Pilates wellness event as gifting on the mat? And like, I'll talk about it. And I would say do like some collaborations like that, whether it's online giveaways or actual collaborations, but definitely use each other's audience. That is 100% a thing we did at the beginning of the brand. And I've already talked about it a lot, but wholesale.
Yep. Did you ever find it difficult to get people to agree to partner with you? Because I think that's what a lot of our founders ask is like, I am small. Like, how do I even, what can I offer? And who should I go out to for brand partnerships? Because I think a lot of times people just assume like you go out to a really big one that's already really well known, but you can benefit a lot from one that are similar size. But did you ever have pushback or people not respond to you or reject you flat out?
I think definitely. And you have to be okay with the rejection always. But yeah, reach out to like, I would reach out to like 50 and maybe expect that like 10 of them might work with you. And if you can, put together like a little like 2-page Canva deck that's like, here's my idea. Because if you come to them with an idea, it's really, that's amazing. And
it makes it easy to say yes.
Yeah. And you never know when it is the right time. Like this jewelry brand called Olive Club reached out and they were like, we want to collab with Bala. And it's like, they were very small and new and amazing. And it wasn't the right time. But then I had an event and I thought of them and they activated at our event. And so it's like, you just never know. It might be a no for whatever reason now, but like you will all of a sudden be on their radar and they'll be like, aha, maybe we could use gifting for this event, or they can activate at this Coachella event. And so it's definitely worth reaching out, but I would just go big with it and cast a wide net and try to not get offended if people say no, because you don't know their agenda. They may already have like collabs scheduled for the next 2 years. So try to not get offended by that and just keep moving.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good point. Just keep going, pick up. From Carling, she said she read and loved the book.
Yay.
So everybody, definitely, we're going to tell you all about her book so you can buy it if you haven't read it. How much pre-launch capital do you think is actually required, inventory aside, to successfully launch a brand today, given increased customer acquisition costs?
Well, this is hard because I mean, you see brands that do launch with limited capital. That doesn't mean that we ended up getting, you know, our brand 5,000, but then we ended up getting that 40,000 Kickstarter. So you will need capital, but there's other ways to get it. It's a hard question to answer without knowing your product. But I mean, maybe a couple $100,000 is great to start, but I wouldn't let that deter you because again, there's so many platforms like a Kickstarter or even just like a Shopify loan. Like if you know you can pay it back, there are ways to get money. So if you don't have a ton of money, you can also truly bootstrap. Max worked in advertising for 2 years after we launched on Shopify. He didn't quit his job until the week before we aired on Shark Tank because we were so like letting his salary pay for our lifestyle so that Bala didn't have to pay us. So essentially, like, have your day job. You could fund it, is what I would say. Also,
yeah, that's another good reason to have potentially a co-founder who's like still working. Well, I mean, a co-founder that is your partner.
yeah, definitely.
will help with that. I do want to go back to the question around like influencers, right? Because I think in consumer today, it's almost like imperative, right? That you're working somehow with ambassadors or influencers or whatnot. What are your suggestions with how much you should include that in your marketing mix? And then how are you able to afford it? I know everything is negotiable, right? But were there ways that you were able to work with bigger players, for example, early on that were really helpful for the business?
Yeah, we actually like this is like predates affiliate, but Melissa Woodhealth loved our product, and so we said, she wanted to work together. We didn't have that kind of budget, and so we said we can pay you a commission of sales and like give you a code, and then we would like literally PayPal her the sales difference every month. I would calculate it, and so you can do that now on ShopMy, and so it's like now you have ShopMy. If you can't afford it, I don't know the exact price, then you can just do gifting, but I think you want to gift to people who you think will post like micro, probably like just go micro because they're going to post because they're just going to post. So I would do micro influencers, gifting, and then the most thoughtful package will get posted. So you don't want to just like throw it in a bag and send it. Write a note, add a notebook, make it like post worthy. And I think that is a way of working with influencers. And then you can reach out after if they love the product, get them on ShopMy, or I'm sure there's a cheaper alternative where they have a code. And again, I think if you're smaller, this is probably gonna have to be micro, but micro are moving the needle more than the big ones these days.
Yeah, I've heard that time and time again. So I think that is sort of the thing across the board. We have one more question from Shruti that I'm going to ask you because I think this is such an important, obviously, part of ensuring that your revenue is sustainable. And then I want to go into some rapid fire. But how do you continue to engage existing customers and encourage them to be repeat buyers, right? Like, how do you continue to have the bottom of the funnel go back up to the top again?
So this is our challenge, and it always has been our challenge because as a fitness customer, of course, we have people that have the whole gym, but generally people are like either like a dumbbells person or a one bangles person. And so repeat has been our challenge from day one. We're not an apparel brand. We're not subscription. So that's always been our challenge. And the way that we get repeat customers now is completely innovation. So we're just like have an insane roadmap, and our mission right now is to become like the one-stop fitness shop for women. So you see Rogue Fitness. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like You go to Rogue Fitness, they will kit out your gym. They have everything you need for your gym, like very masculine and just like generic. It's fine, but we're trying to be like the more fun, more functional female version of that, and we just want to be the one-stop shop. So the way that we continue to engage our customers is by innovation. But if you don't have that, there's other ways to innovate, which is what we've done to, the first few years when we didn't have a ton of products. We said, let's treat it like a fashion brand and let's do like seasonal drops and collabs. So like a hot pink, a lime green, like we'll do very fun collabs or seasonal drops. And that's what keeps people excited, because then our core customer, they're like, we have 8 different colors of bangles. Like we're not going to miss out on this like Dunkin' collab, for example. So collabs and fashionable, like seasonal stuff.
Smart. I mean, I would love to kit out my entire gym if I had a home gym.
I'll kit you out.
So I will be coming to you. It's like if you can do like a Legree bed of some sort, maybe a collab with it.
I need to add that to the roadmap.
Okay, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions, which means you have 30 seconds max per answer. So the first one is actually from Amisha, which is a member question. One piece of advice you'd give your younger self before starting Bala?
I would say there is always something. There's always a way through, no matter how hard. There's been a lot of times where we thought we were going to go out of business or run out of money, or, oh my gosh, I have to fire 5 people tomorrow or something crazy. And it's like, there's always a way through. There's always an other side to things. And then I also would say, try to stay present and not worry about your to-do list. I'm always so worried, and like Slacks are popping up and people are texting me. It's like, it always gets done. It always gets done. So just stay present and enjoy it. Like if you're at a photo shoot, enjoy it.
I love that. And I think it's a good point. I'm going to be thinking about that too. But I feel like that attitude is something you have to have as a founder. There's always a way through. One application or tool you couldn't run your business without?
Oh, I already said Gusto. Probably, Shopify and B2B Shopify.
Easy. Best money you ever spent within the business?
Best what?
Money you ever spent within the business?
Oh, I would say our packaging refresh. So expensive, but so worth it.
Oh, I love that. And then what's next for you, and where can people find your book, Bootstrap Empire?
Next for me is continuing to launch really fun products and try to like fire myself out by, making my team really operationally strong. And you can find me at Bala, Bala on Instagram, or Natalie Holloway, just like it's spelled there.
And that's
the book, Bootstrapping on Amazon. I go deep into everything that we talked about. It's perfect for like 0 to like 3 million.
I feel like this is such like you gave us really tactical strategies here, and the audience, like you guys, thanks so much for your really amazing participation as well, because that's how we get the best sort of insights out. But Natalie, I feel like you have so much wisdom. Last thing, in terms of founder philosophy, I always like to ask our founders on LinkedIn Live, what if they had one sort of overriding philosophy or one piece of advice that they got that helped drive their success in their own business, what would that be?
I would say, I don't remember who told me this, but make quick, decisive decisions and move on, because as a founder, there are hundreds of decisions to make every day. And I've probably made 50% wrong decisions and then like skirted back. But so don't be afraid to get it wrong. But I think to build momentum, you need to make quick, decisive decisions and then just move on and go on to the next one, because there are unlimited decisions to make every single day.
It is so damn true. Thank you for that. It's so, so true. This has been amazing. You're amazing. I can't wait to read your book. I need to pick it up. I'm going to do that after this. And everybody go read her book, follow her, support her. Let's keep Bala going. And they're incredible products too, by the way. So
nice.
I highly recommend them if you don't already have them in your home somewhere. And everybody remember, our consumer cohort is closing out soon. So if you're thinking about applying, now is the time. And if you have any questions, the whole Female Founder Collective team is here to answer them. But we appreciate you, and congrats to everyone.
That was so great.
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.